amidst radioactive environment, in the eternal dark of the underground, at unattainable altitudes. Kazakhstan's vast lands attract researchers and explorers, and our filming crew are no exception. We are still in Taraz, one of the most ancient cities of our country. In the previous episode, we visited a unique ancient settlement of Akyr, full of riddles and mysteries. Having ideal proportions and the architecture unusual for its time, its construction was not still completed. And after 150 years of research, this is still an open question. Look up there. Do you see the quarry up there? Tell me how they transported such large blocks from there down here. Some of them weigh several tons. So how do they bring them here? A good question. Two ancient armies, the Chinese and the Arabs, collided here, with the latter winning. Apparently a local Turkic tribe called the Karluks contributed to their victory. Most likely they started building the settlement right after the Atlak battle. Scientific evidence, however, is not for everybody. There are those who think that Akyr was built by alien architects, and the place attracts hundreds of pilgrims who believe that local stones can charge with energy and cure illnesses. Others claim to have met here people of long-gone times. There are no definite yeses or nos, but for sure everybody can find something interesting in Akyr. In the fall, our filming crew took part in the GPS orientation competition in Shymkent. The excitement and the drive of the event have brought us to the next round, and this is no ordinary event. We will take part in the final round of the games this year. In the evening, we will get acquainted with the crew, which will defend the honor of Taraz at the tournament. Meanwhile, we have some time to get to know the town a little better. So let's not waste a single minute. It is a well-known fact that Taraz is the oldest town in Kazakhstan, originating in distant centuries. This was the place where hundreds of merchants came following the Great Silk Way. We decided to stop by the local museum to learn more about the history of the place. The word Taraz translates as scales from ancient Turkic, which is no accident and is quite justified, as the town occupied a convenient location and thus was an important cross-point of the Great Silk Way. Before plunging into the ancient Taraz atmosphere, it makes sense to talk briefly about the Balbals. They appeared here in the Scythian times. As of today, these stone characters keep silent, although they had witnessed multiple historical events. Let's try talking to them and ask them to be our guides into Taraz's olden days. Look here. Do you notice the overall disproportion, so to say, of the sculpture? The head is larger than other parts of the body. And this is not accidental. It reflects the beliefs and the link that ancient Turks had with the universe. They said that the head was up in the universe or space, whereas legs or feet were down in the ground. Most often, Balbals are considered to be the doubles of the dead. The ancient people would place them on kurgans or burial barrows to watch over the life of tribespeople as well as to protect the herds and pastures from infringements of dishonest neighbors. The hypothesis is that if a Turkic man or woman died, they would bury him or her and would come back in 1 year to hold a large-scale commemoration event and install a stone Balbal. Interestingly enough, every Balbal has a unique appearance, facial expression, a dagger or a bird or a bowl in hands. All these things spoke of the occupation and the character of the person that they depicted. Look at these ones, for example. They depict female shamans as they have curved sickles in their hands. It is believed that in the course of healing, or other shamanistic rituals, they would symbolically touch a patient's body with a glowing hot sickle, thereby exorcising evil or sickness spirits. Today, Balbals zealously guard many museums around the country, where you can find them yourself and try to determine who was the person that a particular Balbal was devoted to, what he or she did. As to us, we have to move on. While trying to untangle the mysteries of Akhaitas during the previous episode, we found ourselves in a historically significant location in Taraz, the town's green market. It was a noisy and interesting trading place for over 100 years. Its life stopped only in 2011 with the beginning of the construction of the new pavilion. Just imagine the surprise of the workers and the archaeologists when they discovered a whole ancient town beneath the operating city market. Archaeological excavations are taking place here now at the place of the ancient Taraz. Just look how many different structures and buildings there are, and this is the 6th or 7th century. The experts are still working downwards to reach the so-called continent or archaeological ground zero. We'll still have a long way to go. Taraz changed its name 5 times. There were different versions of pronouncing its first name: Dolos, Talos or Talas. Taraz as we know it today became the final transcription. Later the city was also called Auliye Ata, Mezoyan, Jambil or Jambil. It took some time for the town to get its original name of Taraz back. In 1055-1040, the city became the capital of the western wing of the Karakan or the Karakhanid Empire. As we know, it was one of the most advanced and developed empires ever. Science, literature and crafts, as well as other inherent attributes of a civilization, developed quite rapidly at that time. Here is the panorama of the medieval Taraz. The town had 3 parts: the citadel, Shakristan and Rabat. The town had a very well-developed irrigation system. Here you can see the couplings used for connecting water pipes. Water meant trees and gardens. According to certain sources, they would bring seeds of exotic plants and flowers from India to grow here in Taraz. The so-called Kalayenis baths are another ancient landmark. It is hard to believe it, but the baths are still there. Of course, they underwent numerous renovations and repairs, and this is exactly the reason why we can still enjoy the view of this unique 11-room building today. Presently, the baths are located in one of the residential districts of the modern city. In the old days, this is where Caravanserai was located. This building is of the late 19th century and was built based on the medieval Oriental model. It was built by the guy called Kalayenis. At least that was the name that the locals used to call him. He was the first patron of the city of Auliye Ata. He was quite rich and devoted his life to building houses, which we still see today. There is a legend that it is possible to heat up the Kalayenis baths with just 1 candle. Unfortunately, we cannot check it for sure, but we'll take the locals' word for it. Having paid tribute to the olden days, we decided to have a little walk around the city. The street is not straight, but is twisting all the time. The reason for that is that previously they organized streets along caravan tracks. The radial and ring layout of the city reflects the medieval city plan. In other words, all streets of the modern downtown repeat the tracks of the Great Silk Way. What did Taraz look like in those days? Having obtained a whole bunch of archival photos, we want to see a person who knows about the town's development firsthand. We are now standing in the beginning of the big boulevard or Atshaba. Most likely they organized horse races in this lower part. It seems like they would let horses gallop here, and this might be the reason for the height difference. Several levels up and we are up on the boulevard. Now this is one of the most popular city spots. Earlier in the 70s it was just desert, gravel, sand and stones. Analyzing the town planning documents of that period, we see that local nobles would settle and live around the Rabat, or the fortified part of the settlement, in the inhabited territory called Shakristan. After that, the common residential districts, so to say, spread further out. From historical sources, we know that this part of the city was founded by the residents of Domogan, the town which is now located on the territory of Uzbekistan.
Естественно, этот период был чисто такой.
Naturally, during that period, they used to build traditional one-story straw bale houses based on the principle of makalya. That is, each house would have an internal yard enclosed by walls from all sides. So the major part of a family's life would take part in these makalyas. Then several houses would form groups of houses or blocks, and then streets.
В начале 50-х годов прошлого столетия.
In the early 50s of the 20th century, a decision was made to develop the town further and to build the main administrative square. That was also the time when they started building multi-storied houses. They often compared the town to the phoenix bird. Indeed, whatever challenges the city faced, it would come back to life again and again. It is hard to argue with that. Maybe that's why the city is so diverse. It was called different names, but it has been here forever. The ancient town of Taraz. Seriously? Come on. You got a cracker inside there by now? Mika, I'm not kidding you. It's your steering. Yeah. Meanwhile, the guys from Taraz Auto Club are writing their own history. Tomorrow they will take a difficult road to Shymkent to take part in the 2016 GPS orientation finals. For now, let's meet the current champions. There are many teams, but when we won, there were very few strong opponents. Nowadays, more and more people get involved in GPS orientation. They master their skills, so it will be much more difficult to win this time. According to the rules, in the course of 6 hours, the team consisting of a pilot, navigator and mechanic has to hit as many points as possible that were previously hidden by the organizers. The score for each point depends on the complexity of the route to reach it. Well, it's always like this. Everything is left for the very last moment. Getting all our stuff together, preparing the truck, all other subtleties, nuances, a lot of things not to forget about. Everything has to be ready for the car to run smoothly and get us there and back safely. Customizing and fitting a vehicle for such competition is no cheap thrill. However, the guys decided to go for it this year. In other words, they have a new truck. So, it is not yet known how it will behave in real-life conditions. Everything might work just fine in a shop, but expect no mercy on the racetrack. This is our second truck. Last year we had a different one, a Toyota Delica. And in 2015 it got us the Champions Cup for the extended race. In fact, we decided to get a more aggressive, so to say, truck. And we didn't buy it like that, we assembled it ourselves. We made one vehicle out of two and are really anxious to see what it is capable of. Who says that off-road and adrenaline is for boys only? There is a female team at the competition and I'm helping them to get ready for the rough ride. One more crew member without whom it is impossible to take part in the competition is the GPS navigator or locator itself. And it should be a real hard-duty one. It must be able to resist water and fire. The more precisely the unit works, the better the chances for the team to find more destination points. The competition participants know each other and are talking to each other like good old friends. Once on the track, it's a totally different matter. You either lose it or win it. Nothing personal and enjoy the gusto. Each time the guys gain new experience, we are growing too. It's hard to say who will be the winner this time. Luck is a big thing on the road too. You never know what might happen. Even very experienced teams may just get stuck along the route. Not much time left before the start of the race. Last-minute preparations and checks. While the teams are applying the finishing touches, we're heading towards Shymkent to enjoy the view of the battlefield. They promised us a lot of drive, bread and circus and mud. In the next issue,